I didn't tattoo either of your names on my body, so whatever you're expecting, lower your expectations. Hello and welcome to O3 Drop. My name is Craig, aka Poopy. I'm joined today by my co-hosts Chris and Brice, and this episode is brought to you by our wonderful partner, Greentree Sports Cards. For all of your Flesh and Blood singles needs, we will have a link to Greentree Sports Cards website where you can purchase those below. Get your hunted singles now because they're only going to get more expensive, or they'll get less expensive. But either way, you're going to be happy that you have them for RTN. So Greentree Sports Cards, we thank them very much for their support, as they have provided each of us a box of The Hunted. And so today we're going to do a little box opening, and we'll talk about our experience with pre-release. We'll talk. We've each, I believe, we each drafted. Brice, did you stick around to draft?
I didn't stick around for draft.
Okay,
It was
Chris,
late, and I was very eepy.
Yes, it was. Chris, you stuck around to draft?
I did indeed. I did.
I also got one draft in, so I did 3 pre-releases, and I was also very, very EP by the end. To decide who opens first, I thought we could each open a pack, and we can decide first. We'll see if anyone just has the best luck, or we can see who has the most arachnes in the pack.
Okay.
And I'm
Okay.
including because let's not keep it to just tokens. We're going to include art that has arachnes on it as well.
Okay,
So-
most appearances.
I got my
What?
box opening knives. These are my
What?
box opening knives. I'm ready to go.
You didn't prepare us for that at all.
That's not a knife.
That's okay.
I don't have
Yeah,
a
these-
knife. so
These
I
are
can't-
exclusively for Flesh and Blood box
I
openings.
can't even do the joke.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so all right. We're gonna pull out a pack. We are going to open these. Whoever has the most arachnes will get to open their box first. A prize that we are each desiring, as who doesn't want to open the Hunted?
I mean, I certainly do. I'll tell you that much. Okay, so it could be in the art, right?
Yes. Any
Okay.
arachnes in the art counts.
Is this considered an arachne? Because it talks about.
That's it. I think that's an arachne. If you can
think-
make a case for it to be an arachne.
Well, I mean, it's redback, which
Okay.
is one of the things. So.
Mhm. Reaper's Call is not an arachne.
What about something like this, Craig? Can we definitely confirm none of these in Lair of the Spider?
I was
are
gonna
any
say
arachnes?
Lair of the
Is this
Spider.
three-
I was just
is
no,
this 3
no.
arachnes?
Those are not arachnes. Those are not arachnes. There's one big spider, but I see no arachnes. And so I have a total of 3 arachnes. I have our token arachne. I have Mark of the Black Widow, and I have a public bounty that has an arachne. So I'm up to 3.
Oh, that is an arachne.
So I
Guys,
think
I
you
think
have
I'm
me
good.
beat.
I think I'm gonna have all you beat. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have me beat because I only have 2 arachnes. I just got the token arachne, Web of Deceit, and Razor's Edge. But I
Okay.
did get a Kiss of Death, so I can't be upset about not going first.
All right. I will
So-
share my M as well. I got the brute guy.
So
For
I
46
got
block.
5 arachnes.
All right.
Ah,
wait
so
a minute.
many
Wait a minute. Is
arachnes.
that a Reaper's Call? Is that a blue Reaper's Call? Even if you have 4.
No, it's a mark of the funnel web.
That's an
Yeah,
arachne.
That's an arachne.
That's
That's,
an-
Yeah,
an
yeah,
arachne.
yeah.
Fair is fair. That's a
Yeah,
arachne.
even if I had 4, that would still beat your 3.
All right. So we are going to do a little edit here to let Brice set up the camera so that Brice can give you a
Yeah.
show of.
It's gonna be a bit of a
packs.
janky view, but we're gonna make it work.
And quick transition. Boom.
What?
Okay, here we are. Brice has set up his view. Let's get into this. So I'm gonna just let you guys look at these cards. Talk about the tiny bauble. I was gonna say I was gonna go into a little bit of what we did for sealed. So what did you guys play?
So since Bryce is occupied, I guess I'll kind of go first here. So I being a warrior stan, so to speak, have been excited about Fang for quite some time. Just to see how he plays in practice. as opposed to me being a little worried about how he was going to play when we just kind of saw him before we started to see the world premiere and everything. So I
Mhm.
forced Fang in both my pre-release sealed and the draft that we did. We also did a while back. There's like an online tool to like practice draft things like that. I did a mock draft with Fang there too, so I got a little bit of an idea of what we're looking for out of that.
Mhm.
But I did force Fang in both my sealed polls. He has some legs. Is he the best deck in sealed? Probably not.
When you say that you forced Fang, do you mean that you forced it or that you had a reasonable Fang sealed pool and wanted to go Fang?
So there was one that was significantly better than the other. I mean, I went both
Mhm.
times 2-1. I think my only loss was to you in the one, and then I lost to another.
Never
Syndra
forget it.
I mean,
You will not live that down.
Syndra's good,
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
but yeah, I mean, every time it was close. I feel like most of the matches. Now where Fang, does well in sealed that I wasn't really anticipating was utilizing the fieldy tokens to make up for maybe a mid pool.
Yeah,
So
I
even if you
was
get a lot of
I was really surprised by how good the instant that just makes a fealty is. Like
Yes.
I was because I think you pointed out in the chat like this is a very good card. Oh, we got a blood runs deep.
There you go.
What's
Pretty good,
that
pretty good.
behind? Okay. Blood runs deep. Awesome card. Really
Great
cool
card.
card. But
Very great
yeah,
card.
you pointed out you were like this card is juicy, and I was kind of like. I don't know. Is it really that good to like run this no block that just makes a fealty token? And then
Yeah.
when it's like, no, it gives your sword +1 and go again, and it makes you a fealty token,
Yeah.
which is the engine that Fang needs.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
So
Rainbow foil.
my first pre-release, I did get the like cold foil EA version of this, so I'm starting to think these are not uncommon because I've seen a lot of other people pulling
Well,
these.
I'll tell you, I've only pulled Oath of Loyalty in my sealed pools, and I think that card is like kind of like the picture perfect card of like what I don't want to pull because I'm not that interested in Draconic Heroes, and even if I was, I'm not into that card. I don't like that card. But anyway, we were talking about Fang. Fang has legs.
Yeah, so when we were talking about the card that specifically just makes that fealty, what's nice about it too, and I wanted to check because I forgot what they were, but those red alert equipment pieces that say, hey, gets +1 if you use the reaction.
Yeah.
What's nice about that too when you're playing limited Fang is you play that since it's not a reaction, it's an instant, it doesn't buff those pieces of equipment, which a lot of people slot in for you. And also what I learned is a lot of times when you're coming in with a dagger, they say, okay, you got a reaction, maybe it's just +3. I'm going to say no block, and I'll save it for the back one, like the second one that a lot of times has a more significant hit in terms of damage, because a lot of things say like, hey, if it's a second Draconic link, it gets +4 or something like that. So people tend to say for the back end. So what's nice is if they're marked and you play that, you're immediately 2/3 of the way down if you hit them to get fealty, because you're getting one from hitting the marked target, then you're getting one from the play. Now it's close. I mean, I think when I played against a local Josh Paris, I think I had 3 fealties by the end of my first turn. Because I also played the ones, I think I played a dual combo. It's like if this is your second Draconic card, I forget the name of it, or the second Draconic chain link, when this hits create a fealty. There's 2 cards that do that. So I played both of them, and I just created 3 fealties because he was marked as well. So it was real gross, real fast. So
one of the interactions with fealty I think is like really good is you can with the reaction boots that if you've activated an ability, you can break them to give something go again. Like it is different than like Snapdragons in that there's no cost restriction. It's just if you've activated an ability, this chain link. So what you can do is you can break your fealty, and you might not have a follow-up you want to spend on that turn, but you break your boots and then you attack with your second dagger. And then let's say you do have a reaction that isn't normally Draconic, you can make it Draconic for that additional +1 value. Ooh, we got another hit here.
Hey.
This is a really good card. This is like,
I'm having a little trouble getting the focus on here with the
don't worry, we'll
you can tell what it is. There you
yeah.
go. Oh,
Okay.
it had it. Yep, I got the
Yep.
I think that
Okay.
card is gross. I wish
Yeah.
it didn't block for 3. But Prism players tell me that Prism needs help. I don't believe them, but
That's what they always say before they hit you one time and suddenly there's 100
Yeah.
angels on the board.
Prism's not even that good. Anyway, 5 dominate on hit, draw 2 cards. Here's 8, go again, draw 2 cards.
Oh, and you want a swing? Now you're going to be infinitely looped in this. So enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So-
Prism still scares me. I mean, whether or not Prism's ever top meta, I
Mhm.
think Prism is just a scary deck to play against at any given time.
Mhm.
It's fun. But the other the kind of thing that I realized in Sealed 2 that I don't think that I took into consideration as much at the beginning was the cards that say things like, what is it, for the realm, for the emperor, and
Yeah.
for the Drakai.
Yeah.
If they're your opponent's marked,
Mark
you
creative fieldy.
field it. Yeah,
Yep.
those are great.
So yeah, those are fantastic because there's a lot of times where they're like, oh, I marked them, not like going to let you get hit because you're close to the fieldy. So you just do like dagger in that, you get your third one guaranteed, and you go. I mean, that was a card I was not expecting to like as much until recently.
Mm-hmm. I found that the cards that are sort of like the inverse of that cycle, that they the ones that like they're generic instead of draconic, but they mark on hit, like those I think they might block 3 as opposed to 2, but like they care about they're an on hit, right, of marking, and that was one that I found like I thought at first I was like, oh, this is great, like a way to mark, and like I'm sure people won't be blocking that much. But then I was kind of like, no, I would much rather just have the on play and make a fealty. Here's a card that really has no use in limited,
Anaphylactic shock.
other than to
and a bad name.
deal 1 to your opponent, but block for nothing.
Sure.
Yeah, don't love that card in limited. I played a lot of Syndra. I played 3 games on Fang at my first pre-release, and I really wasn't sure what I was like looking to build. Okay,
Loyalty beyond the grave.
nice.
So we know who got the good box.
I wasn't really sure what I wanted to build,
Sure.
and I just pulled Majestics for Fang. I pulled 2 Hunt's End, and I never had 3 fealty in my first 3 games. So like I think it was a lot of just like the deck builder skill. Like I just don't think I built a very good deck, and I don't think I evaluated the cards very well. And then I was like, well, let me just like put together Syndra and see if I have a good Syndra deck. And I had 8 cards that threw daggers. Speaking of throw dagger,
Ooh,
and
a foil jagged edge, which like hell yeah. That's a double. It's a double impact there. Foil slot.
yeah,
Great box. Great box.
I think both of those cards are really good. I'm
great
a big fan of throw dagger.
Oh, 100%. I mean, throw dagger I think is going to be a staple in so many decks that we're going to see in RTNCs in Memphis, whatever's coming up right now. I mean,
Yeah, it's
it is-
ancestral empowerment, except it doesn't have the attack doesn't have to hit, the dagger does.
Yep.
And it's a blue. Like it's great. That
Anyway,
was
back
one
to
of the
Syndra.
ones in my first sealed pool. Actually, that was one of the like 8 that I had that threw daggers, and I had
Yeah.
plenty of retrieve cards. And so I ended up playing Syndra for my 4th round of my first night, and I just was like, instead of like a draconic archetype, what if I just went like pure retrieve, like as much retrieve as I can, as much flicking as I could, and that worked pretty well. Then I tried it the next 2 days, pretty much. Here we go, null time zone.
Null time zone. Still struggling to figure out where the focus point is here.
But when I tried it the other 2 days, I did find that like I actually did need the draconic cards because I never had good starters, and I was always having to pitch one to play something like a poison blade or like throw yourself at them, where my opponents were just like starting chains that like had a 0 cost draconic into, you know, like they were just sort of sweeping with attacks, and I was kind of like, oh well, if I lose 1 card, my my hand gets significantly worse. So that like sort of like poison blade flick build I think has like you have to have a high amount of retrieve cards to make.
I was
that
about
work.
to ask that because I mean we see a lot of Syndra kind of being put together right now for CC and constructed formats. How hard is it to build a solid flick deck without flick knives? You know, the legendary equipment piece to
Um,
make like limited Syndra work in draft. Like,
so
are there
so
or
the
even in sealed? Like, are there things you're looking for first, or is it just
Well, Danger Digits is a pack one, pick one if you're interested in building that deck. And then after that, I think you need to like balance like it is difficult because you do want draconic cards, but you also want cards like throw yourselves at them or whatever the name is, so that you can destroy daggers mid chain. All right, I love that card.
That's a very nice looking foil too.
Yeah, I talked quite a bit about that card this week, and my love for it. But yeah, I think that like it's awkward because you want to reduce the cost by playing draconic cards. You also want to destroy daggers on the chain by playing cards that flick daggers. And retrieve cards are really good for when you can't build up a natural chain of draconic attacks. Because if you can only send like if you get stuck with a hand where like all of your draconic attacks care about being the second on the chain link and you don't have your daggers, like you've screwed yourself over for a turn. You're sending 3 and passing and like pitching 2 to re-equip your daggers. Like it's not that's a pretty awkward turn. So there's a lot more awkwardness if you try and go for flicking than if you just kind of try and figure out what you want to do as far as like good draconic starters and things like Dragon Power is an amazing finisher. If you make it draconic, it can be a 1 for 7, you know? So it's a lot more awkward than just figuring out like how am I going to sequence a fully draconic hand so that like the one that just has natural go again is before the one that cares about 2 draconic chain links, you know.
That makes sense.
But it can be very rewarding in that it takes away their ability to block things. And with Poison Blade, you can just get those instances where like, okay, I am just instantly dealing 2 damage and I'm going to re-equip this and threaten another 2 damage. So, all right, let's look at the pools here. We got the
let's review this one.
The Mask of Deceit, which is the big hit here. What else did you get?
Foil. So M's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 M's. So about normal. We got Null Time Zone, Throw Dagger, Foil Jagged Edge, which is one I'm pretty excited about. Loyalty Beyond the Grave. I should put these down as we're talking. Anaphylactic Shock, the expansion slot for Prism, Warcry of Themis, and Blood Runs Deep. We didn't get any micro text boxes, EAs, or anything like that. But pretty solid. I mean, these are
still solid bucks.
Great expansion card that everybody's, you know, well, not everybody, but you know, great expansion card that Prism's going to be looking for. I'm one in towards my playset of Jagged Edge already. It's pretty good. Not a bad box.
Solid box.
Chris, you had 2 Arachnes?
I had 2. I think you had 3, right?
I had 3.
You're up.
All right. And quick cut. We are back. And I got this first pack here. I'm going to be trying to keep my packs separated because we are going to do a little draft with this later. And I want to make sure to have kept the integrity of the packs for the most part. So second pack here. First pack we hit the thick high.
Tell me you don't want to make a pack that's just all Majestics and be like, oh no.
Oh wow, so lucky.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have my playset of
there
Spurlock.
There you go.
Brody Spurlock at home.
Yeah. I forget who said it. It was very funny. Brody Spurlock made a card so bad that it killed an entire talent.
No, they had to make a talent just for it. Yeah.
That's why there's no more chaos because
I thought that was very funny. I also do love Spurlock, so don't.
It's a fun card. I mean, I think there's a case for it in some Arachne decks where if you just name 4 or 5, especially if you're playing Slippy, I think you're just happy. I mean, if your opponent sits there and names 6, you're like, okay, take 6 life. I'm still coming in as an aggro deck. If name 4 or 5, you take that, you basically get exactly what you need in terms of reactions, all that kind of good stuff. So I think it's a fun card. I'm hoping somebody finds something interesting with it. But
I think as a one of, it's very cool, especially if you're running the toxicity combo. Like that's a cool way of just kind of like, oh, I didn't get what I needed, but I can like pull out the pieces if I'm willing to pay some life. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's it. But so let's talk about this. So while Craig's kind of moving, Brice, what about your pre-release? You said you went to the same 2 I think I did. Who were you on?
Yeah, so
what were your thoughts?
I hit 3 throughout the weekend. We did it was by Sunday night.
Got a hit here. We got a Devotion Never Dies. I got to keep reminding myself not to like turn the card around.
Yeah. But yeah, so like Mimics on Sunday night, and then immediately, Goblins. Did I say Sunday? Mimics Saturday night, Goblin immediately Sunday morning, Greentree Sunday afternoon. So just a very long end of the weekend doing 3 straight pre-releases. But I specifically wanted to make sure that I hit each hero at least
another
once.
Blood Runs Deep.
There you go.
Already off to a pretty cool Syndra.
See,
deck.
my box it waited until the end to actually hit all the M's. I looked and I had like 6 packs left, and I was like, I got 1 M right now. This feels weird. They are all just collated to the back. It's fine.
With Rosetta, I had one that was so front loaded that I honestly began to think I would not hit any like packs without Majestics in it.
Got one of those.
It was 8
runs again.
It was like 8 packs in a row where I was like, oh my god, I've like hit after hit, and then there was nothing in the rest of the box. But I was,
yeah, weird collation. Has anyone seen Has anyone? I know like there are not a lot of boxes open right now, but has anyone heard anything of like weird? Like a weird thing like, oh, the bottom left of every box has Majestic or something like that. Like no goofy stuff like that about.
Nothing that I've seen or heard, yet from anybody at like pre-release or any of the stores that have kind of gotten some stuff or done openings for pre-releases or anything like that. Oh. I mean, that was just kind of a wacky thing altogether.
Yeah, that was a weird situation. But anyway, wanted to try to make sure I played each hero at least once. That was the ideal. Ended up able to do that. I wasn't gonna like force a hero I didn't have a good pool for just for the sake of playing that one. But I think on Sunday evening at Greentree, I had a decent Arachne pool, but the Syndra pool was
Yep.
Yeah, that's my response as well.
Wait, hold on a second, Craig. Hold on, wait. Don't go forward in that pack. Can we take a 2-second break? I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick, and then we'll cut it back in.
No. Okay, we're back from our potty break, and
oh my god, where were we? Yeah, the Greentree pool. My pool from Greentree had a decent Syndra. Oh, there you go.
Finish my playset of this card that I don't love.
Fancy. Syndra was a good time. I didn't think I would be too enthused about about playing Syndra. It was fun. I almost 2-1. It was one of the games was very, very close. Lost it just by a couple health, but it was very fun. If I would have had a little bit more time and to go over the cards and a little bit of like a better understanding of some of the lines and stuff, I probably would have won that game that I lost, because I definitely made some mistakes on sequencing when to close the chain. And that's something that I found to be very, very fun about Syndra, where, I was looking at a hand where with a single blue pitch, I could dagger, play 3 more attacks.
Okay.
One of them was the one that's like costs 1 less to play. You know, there was the cost 1 less to play for, you know, if you have a two more draconic chain links, whatever the amount is. And that like enabled this really great turn. And then Pat was like, "Hey, you did that wrong." I was like, "What?" Okay, so we sat and talked about it, and it was a thing where like, the play would have been to just close the chain link after the second dagger, and then because I was able to off of the remaining resources play 3 draconic links, and I could have just grabbed them back for free like at the end of the turn. So it there's stuff like that.
There's nuance, yeah.
Yeah, there's I think it's a different kind of nuance than normal ninja stuff, because I don't know how much like in a Syndra deck you're going to be going and retrieving combo pieces off of triggers and knowing those combos and knowing like, oh, I need to go get this one and make this work. I think it's going to be more of like understanding the optimal times to like close your chain links to be able to get your daggers back at the end of the turn, or just knowing when to keep one dagger. Even if you just let one of them die.
Great hit. Great,
nice.
Very good hit. Okay, well,
there's
you know what it
Saber
is.
bloodshed.
These cards are microchipped to not allow cameras to focus on them. I promise.
But I think when we're talking about like the micro nuancing of like these new heroes and all that kind of stuff, I find myself when I go to early drafts or early sealed for any set, kind of making mistakes in what I'm drafting or what I'm building, because I fall back to
Okay, here we go. We got
comfort.
a great follow-up to that one.
Nice.
Take up the mantle.
You're building the deck, man. You're building the deck.
Yeah, there we go.
That one looks very unsettling when not focused in on. Like the face is already kind of weird, and then when you like make it blurry, it's like
I was gonna say, I got news for you. It looks worse in focus. That's a spooky card.
It is
That's a
very spooky.
card.
Art is, you know, it's almost like a moot point by now, but and because we say this every set, but like every single time, it's like, oh wow, the art in this set is amazing. Oh,
Nice
this art,
cold foil of a, you know, maybe a commoner chess piece. But
did I get? So unless I passed on something, I didn't get a cold foil in my box.
Oh, little mister, I only got a legendary.
Huh. Yeah, but like you tend to still get like a cold foil common or something. You know,
I would simply get better at opening boxes.
That's
you know,
I cannot argue that logic.
I will trade you the cold foil common equipment that I got yesterday for that legendary.
Yeah,
yeah. You know, I'll give you a nice shiny cold foil for your rainbow foil any day. Speaking of cold foil, what did we think about the what do they call it, the Arachne what's that foiling on it, the new
0 gauge?
Yeah, 0 gauge foiling on the Arachne slip through the cracks.
Underwhelming.
Yeah.
Oh, it's supposed to be different.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
I didn't notice too. I mean, I didn't notice too much. I was like, oh, okay, it's foil.
I believe the idea is it should stop or help reduce the pringling on the card.
It doesn't have like a layer on top of it, is my understanding. Like it's not a layer that's glued to the top. But...
Yeah, so like if you rip like a normal foil card, it's like that plasticky. It's kind of hard to rip.
Yeah,
if you rip, and we had a local do this at one of the pre-releases because James White said I dare somebody to do it. So Noah did it. But they ripped the Arachne slipped, and it rips just like a normal card. So I do know James White said like, hey, look, this is the first iteration of it. He wasn't 100% satisfied. They're going to be making changes. But
yeah, looking at it now, the foiling is not as vibrant. And I'm sure that's just a byproduct of like, you know, it's a trade-off of do we want to make the foil really pop or do we want to make the card springle less? It's just kind of like... Right. And I tell you what, I was going
last pack here.
But is it magic?
It is not magic.
Do you believe in Oh, bummer.
Okay, box.
You got some decent M's.
You got
some very playable M's and some funny expansion slots, but
yeah, I'm not a brute player, so double thick hide hunter is like I'm kind of
was that a single pack? Was that a single pack? Was that one foil, one non-foil?
That was that was 2 separate packs.
Okay.
But the 2 Thick Hide Hunters, Spur Locked, Savor Bloodshed, Take Up the Mantle, Rainbow Foil, Oath of Loyalty, Devotion Never Dies, and Blood Runs Deep. I'm a big fan of Devotion Never Dies, Blood Runs Deep, and these Assassin ones. So, overall, okay. Pretty good.
Yeah, even if you don't play Assassin, those Assassin ones will easily trade for good value. I mean, they are bonkers. Those are absolutely bonker cards.
Okay, let's switch cameras over for Chris. We're back with Chris's packs now. Chris, I'm hoping for a Marvel. I want to see a Marvel, but I also as much as I want to see a Marvel, I also know that I handed out the boxes.
Yep.
So it would hurt a little to know that I handed you.
Well, if it's a Marvel
stuff.
Syndra, we'll send it your way. Just to keep
no, that's nice.
Happy with the Ninja player,
dude. I love Syndra. I like this set so far. All right, it's not my favorite. I do think Syndra is really cool, but like the biggest thing this set did for me is Ira. And we can talk a little bit about the Zephyr Needle ban, because I know that people probably have been talking about it, and I imagine most of them think, right, this is a great ban. And as someone who played quite a bit of Zephyr Needle Ira, I was on a much more aggressive list than the one that we had posted on the channel. I can tell you that it absolutely needed to go, and that the deck is still very, very good.
The deck is bonkers. It's just not completely busted. I think it's still the best deck by far.
Okay, so here's my thing. I think it's cool that they knew, like, in August, we saw their Slack messages. In August, they were talking about, like, we got to figure out something to do about this, right? All right.
Rainbow Foil Fissure.
Nice.
That card, man.
Don't say it. Jokes.
Don't say it.
Things got weird enough at the pre-release last night. We don't need to make any more jokes.
Anywho,
there you go. Another Devotion Never Dies.
Never Dies.
Nice.
Yeah, I forget what I was saying.
Zephyr Needle.
Zephyr Needle. You ran a more aggressive deck than the one you put out there.
Yeah. So I mean, me and someone else last night, Tim and I were referring to it as the worst kept secret in Fab. That Zephyr Needle Ira was just insane. Right. Like I've told people, like, I sent a Zephyr Needle for 14 and followed up with a CNC for 7. Like, that was insane, and it was definitely not a well-kept secret. We got a
Cold Foil Hand of Vengeance, Rainbow Foil Loyalty Beyond the Grave.
Noise. So, like, my problem, like, seeing that they knew about it in August, I was disappointed with the timing, right? They could have banned it a little bit earlier. Like, I know, like, because it seems like they were kind of walking this fence of, like, we want players to be able to play with the powerful cards, but also they still banned it before release. So they didn't do that.
And also right before
I bought
Memphis.
shit for that deck. I bought a bunch of stuff for that deck that doesn't work in a Kadachi deck because it's not a 0-cost blue. It's a 3-cost blue. And so I was a little like, all right, guys, like, you knew you were going to ban it. Why did you not ban it before?
It was also right before, like, Memphis, right? Isn't
they needed to ban it before Memphis, or else it would have just been Iris in the top 8. The deck was that good. Like, the deck was crazy. Everyone would have been on.
I think the part that's rubbing people the wrong way is that they put out the hey, there's what I wanted, the Fang. They put out the abandoned. Actually, speaking of which, we have not seen many adult heroes be pulled.
Which is fine.
A lot of it.
Which is fine.
I have a Fang and a Syndra.
Okay, so it says fine, but I feel like it's been lower this set than it has the past couple, which makes me nervous.
It is still so dumb that those are in a slot.
Let me pitch you guys my solution for that. We had the gold pack why don't we just have like call it the player pack,
Yeah.
and it has all of the
Yep.
adult heroes at Majestic still, if that's what you want to put them, but just put them in as a regular, like you open a box, you get 3 of each hero. I don't see what the harm in that would be. I don't know what making them Majestic does other than kind of like annoy players and make it harder to get into the game.
It wouldn't be bad if, like, okay, I opened an entire case and I got exactly 1 of each. That's still it's 3 Majestics that aren't something else, but then at the same time, like, there's plenty of Majestics that I do not care about.
Yeah. That's over $400 though.
Yeah, that still seems. It still.
I'm just talking about like the rate that they drop. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to buy a whole case to get them, but like that, if you're going to waste the slot with a Majestic, it would be ideal if it was like 1 case would get you exactly 1 of each. That's not how it happens.
My solution would be this: is if you don't want to put them in packs or don't want to make them token rarity, what you do is either you put them as a buy buck promo, but ideally what you should also do is you should make it, if you go to a pre-release, part of that kit that you get that has all the tokens, everything, give you 1 of every adult hero in the set as like this is for you coming to the pre-release. Thank you. Like we get the rainbow foil equipment, or we get something like that. Yeah.
That's exactly what I like think, but where I differ is that I think it should be in a box. Like I think that should be like, dude, if you are getting into Flesh and Blood right now, and the set that you're like into is Mistveil, you should be able to open Mistveil and have like, yes, I believe you can bring a young hero to like tournaments now, since they are still tokens. Maybe I don't know.
No,
I don't think at a competitive rel.
Yeah, no, not a competitive thing, because there was a time, I think, Craig, before you started playing, where Prism LL'd as an adult, but people still played Prism, just played the young version in CC and said, I'm going to take the 20 health penalty.
That
just because it was that
absolutely good. Not what I was.
Yeah. So they basically were like, no, you can't play a young hero in CC.
Yeah. I know that you can't play a young hero, but I was thinking that you could present a young hero, being that the the math
is tokens.
hard.
They're just tokens.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I wouldn't care, but yeah, in a competitive event, no, you can't.
Honestly, and I know that this is probably not like the best advice. I think that you should shame anyone who like tries to like shark you out of an event.
Give you shit about that. Yeah.
Like if you're
Brody,
like, if you show up to an event and you have like the young Arachne and they're like, you don't have an old Arachne, you cannot participate in this event. Everyone there should immediately turn and be like, boo. Boo. This guy's a dork. Like you should
shut up, nerd.
Yeah, you shouldn't accept that. You should tell people that that's like. I don't think anyone's doing that, but if someone's trying to get a win on a round by being like, my opponent doesn't have a legal hero, and they
we do have a Marvel.
Oh man!
Oh man!
Chris, just a good one. Are you sure it's a Marvel? Okay, we're sure.
Arachne Orb. Arachne Orb Weaver.
Okay, Orb Weaver. Neat.
Can I be honest? I was a little bit more excited if it was going to be an extended art, like a mini.
But you know what? I will say that I love on these Marvels. I love how it like looks like this, and how you can read it clear, and like how the one side isn't just like a normal cold foil with like the text box. It's like the full art all the way through with the text box. So
yeah.
I think they did a real good job with that. But
don't forget to check for more hits in there.
I did. Okay. But anyway, last pack. But we were saying too, I think the thing that when we were talking about the Needle Ira, the thing that was bugging people was a lot of it was just they put out that banner restricted that said nothing till March, like keep going. Yeah. And so people were like, good, I can test the deck, I can build it, I can go. If they would have said, hey, there's nothing now, however, we are evaluating a card that may be impacted later, then people could have maybe been like, okay, wait, hold on a second, something may be coming, what is it? And I feel like they wouldn't have been as scorned.
I think they kind of like I get that, like, maybe it wasn't like the best idea to be like, just so you know, we're strongly considering a ban right now, and we won't tell you when,
Yeah.
or like you won't know, like. But it is like, I do kind of feel like
It
it's
it's
cool. They let us play with it for like 3 days on Talishar, but they never let
yes.
us play with it in paper. And that's fine because the calling Memphis is like this weekend. So it's the same as release weekend. It would have absolutely overshadowed the rest of the decks in the calling. But
Yeah.
it does feel kind of bad to like get excited. Like I built the deck and then it's like, okay, I can't wait to do this. And it's like, nah, you're gonna have to do Kadachis. And it's like, well, that changes the deck
Yeah.
construction quite a bit,
That's
actually, if you built 4 Zephyr needles. And then not only does it change like the cards that you run in blues, the big thing that I think it changes is like you have one backup blade now. You can only have one other dagger in your inventory. There's not
Yeah.
other options. Like
Yep.
that's what I was saying. There were people on Blue Sky just talking about like, hey y'all, like I have to rebuild and test my entire new deck like this week
Mhm.
before Memphis. I which might be indicative of just how many people were like going in
yeah.
on Needle Ira, but like that would be frustrating from a
Well,
player
I think
perspective. Like,
frankly that's like fine, honestly. Like if you're like, oh well, now I have to like build a new deck. Like that happens with every rotation. You know,
yeah.
like
Sure.
I
Yeah.
do get
Yep.
that it's right before Memphis, but it isn't. It isn't from the ground up, but it is significant changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
Is
And,
sort of
and
where I'm at.
it is tough because I mean you don't know what they said internally. Like maybe they sat there and said, "Hey, look, it took us a while to figure this out. Maybe we'll be able to get through Memphis and we can put it out before our TN season, or whatever the case may have been." But
They said that part of the reason was they saw the community's like
yeah,
reaction in like tier lists, and
yeah,
I do think that that is kind of concerning of like yes to be fair, they were aware that it would eventually be a problem, okay,
yes,
but also to be like we're basing it off of how the community feels about this deck is like kind of concerning to me a little, like, you know.
yeah, yeah. I what makes me worried about that is very much of what I've always enjoyed about the Flesh and Blood community is generally speaking, if there is a good deck out there, people have been pretty open to kind of share it. They may not give you the exact sauce, like especially if it's right before Worlds or something like that. But generally, people will be like, "Hey, Ira seems pretty good if you run Needle or
Mhm.
something like that." My fear now is that we're going to get a lot of people, especially like the big teams or the content creators that are going to sit there and say, "I don't know if I want to say this because I want to play the deck," and you know it it makes me nervous that it may lead to some stale or some really swingy like RTNs or ProQuest or something like that, where everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, I just saw this at Memphis. I got 1 week," and then everybody builds the one broken deck for that next week's event, as opposed to sitting there being like, "Hold on, there's a whole bunch of different things that are out. People, have had time to test against it. You know, it makes me nervous."
I
But
don't see like because so like but you're talking about like oh the community reaction and based off of the tier lists and stuff. I I don't usually see a lot of outright like anger and outright like oh my god what do you guys do? Okay,
no.
aside from CYB, there was everyone. It wasn't like it wasn't this like public uprising to be like Ira's destroying this game and the game's not fun anymore because I just have to
No.
worry about going up against an Ira and blah blah blah. There's never that kind of just like
But
vitriol for a deck in the format. And
do you believe that maybe that's why they did it? Because after CYB Enigma became such a thing, and everybody said, "Oh my god, this is terrible. It's the only deck to play. If you don't play this, you don't win." That their fear was when people saw at Memphis calling Ira, kind of on the streams, everything like that, seeing top 8 Ira, that people would be mad just being like, all it is Ira. All that everybody plays is Ira. That if they're like, if we take this out now,
like, because there's no precedent of them doing that. Like, and in fact, it kind of seems like it was a bit of an opposite thing with Zen, right? Like people were so happy that Zen was like not a menace in the meta anymore, and then they were like, JK, he's back for a little bit now. It's just, I don't see LSS doing drastically reactionary things based off of player and community feedback.
That's
this isn't any different. Like
that's
people
true.
were like, oh, this is great. People were like, this is a very, very strong deck. You should check it out. What people weren't doing was like, I'm gonna burn this to the ground if Ira's not banned. You know what I mean? There wasn't that kind of sentiment.
So I think that like you're absolutely right. There's not like this precedent that they just like go off player like assessment, right? I think it's weird that they said like after seeing the community's response to this versus after seeing the results at a tournament, after seeing data at a tournament, like them saying like we saw how the community responded online, which is very different from like this approach that they often have, which of like let it play out and let the meta adjust. And like maybe we will see like people come up with a strong counter. But I think the reason is like two things. The deck was that good. And the deck was that good. I played it. I didn't lose. Yeah. Like once I had my final list together, I went like 8-0, and like I'm not good enough to go 8-0 usually. Like it was that good. The other thing is they say pretty clearly in the ban announcement that like there was a design issue. Daggers need to attack for 1. Like that's their design issue where they were like, well, Brian's original post says that it in the chat was like, it strikes me wrong that we would put in a clause on retrieve that the dagger has to have 1 power when the only dagger that falls outside of that is Zephyr Needle. And that seems counter to the identity of a dagger. So that's sort of like part of where it comes from. But that is something that they knew about from August, and they said, maybe we let the players run the course, like we'll see what happens. But that design issue existed the whole time, right? So it is to me like a great ban for multiple reasons, but it's weird that they would say like, just we don't have the data from an actual event, but we know based off player sentiment that this is going to be a problem. Seems kind of just not par for the course for how they handled other bans.
Yeah. Well, when you say like that, it's that Zephyr Needle kind of falls outside of that dagger archetype. I was looking on February before we got started. There are if it's your second attack, and it's the text is second attack, not attack action card, right?
Second attack on Ira, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there are 36 or like I think it was like 40 cards total that block more than 3 with like their default, and some of them are like expansion slots, so like they're barred cards or something like
that point was really good until this set. The problem with the new Ira deck is it made the clause of breaking a dagger completely irrelevant because you flicked a dagger almost every turn and retrieved it. Like you just if you run 12 retrieve cards, you're never really without a dagger.
Right, which is the point, because like that was the risk. That was the risk of running it. It's so above rate, but it can just fucking destroy. Now you can just get it back. Like,
but not only could you retrieve it, but the thing is, before a lot of times it came in for 2. So if you block with a 3, or it's like, hey, look, if I do D-react, it breaks. A lot of times when you're retrieving it, now it's also getting like buff 4. So you're swinging for 6. What are you gonna do? Block with a non-movable? But
now that narrows it down to like 2 cards that can break it when it's.
I mean, up sticks and runs gives it +4. Yeah, exactly. I played that. That's how I got Zephyr to 14. I played 3 red, up sticks and runs, pitch to blue, and it was just like, there's no card in the game that blocks this and destroys it. So,
3 boxes opened, 1 legendary, 1 marvel, 1 cold foil,
pretty good rate,
and a good amount of M's. I mean, we were all averaging about 7 to 9 M's, something like that. 9,
Yeah.
10 M's.
Was
That's not bad.
do you know if these were out of the same case?
They were.
Okay.
Yeah. So for this would be a pretty strong case.
Yeah.
Pretty strong.
Thanks
case.
again to Greentree Sports Cards. We are going to have the link in the bio. Make sure to hit them up for all of your singles needs. They are our favorite supplier in the fab space and our local armory. Come on by any Tuesday night. We are going to be moving soon, but it's a great community there. We thank them very much for their support.
Yes, thank you.
I was told that if you mention this in your TCG player order, John will give a little smooch on your shipping label. little
yes,
thank you.
Sealed with a kiss.
Just for you.
Yes. Every card sealed with a kiss from Greentree Sports Cards. And then Jeff Goldblum comes in and he's like, yes, sealed with a kiss. Greentree Sports Cards. Anyway.
I hate you two so much.
Hey. Welcome to our mind play.
My mind palace.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we will talk to you all later. Goodbye.
Have a beautiful time.
Bye-bye.